Welcome to another episode at Zawi TV. The decision to relocate or to move to our countries of birth as first generation immigrants does not come easy at all. It is not an overnight decision, and the topic raises some level of controversy whenever it's brought up amongst those people who are talking about it. It has ended up leaving a lot of people in a dilemma to move back or to not move. And when we say move, I think it's very important for us to explain what is moving back home. A lot of first generation immigrants came to these countries, to the diaspora, working hard for their families, but now they're beginning to age and get tired. So a lot of them would be thinking, what do I do now? I want to go back home or I want to stay. But there's a lot of factors to consider before doing that. So sometimes we engage in conversations like this, and they are very important conversations. It's not things or topics that you want to put off because you don't care, because we like it or we don't like it. I think at some point we're going to have to care. It's not actually moving. It's about making the decision. Do you want to stay here or do you want to go? A lot of it requires very critical and I'll say very important planning. And the planning requires, I think, that you know exactly, or you have some idea, do I wanna stay here? What does it mean to stay here? It might mean getting old and then ending up in a nursing home. For some people, that's a no. For others, it's okay. There's nothing wrong about being in a nursing home. In actual fact, if I was old and couldn't take care of myself, I would rather be in a nursing home. But if there's an option where I can't be in a nursing home, I shouldn't be in a nursing home, and I can be having family around me, then maybe considering looking back to go back might be the alternative. Let's look at it from this angle. One person decides to go back, right? So you don't just up and go. You don't just wait until you are 65 years or you are 67 years when you retire to up and go to Africa. I think well before the actual move or before the intended move, you have to re-establish connection with people you may have left some years ago. Go back, visit once a year for a week or two. Go back, visit, travel, see people, have a feel what's going on. There's a lot of construction building going on in our home countries, Africa at large, that will be shocked at what's going on. A lot of people still have the mentality that things are not well back home, and people are building nice houses. They don't have to be big. They're well-built homes, clean, and a lot of people that have visited for the first time after so many years have been shocked to find how well people are living. So planning would be the first stage to help you make a decision, so that when you make the decision, it's an informed one. When you make multiple visits to Africa, you see how does it feel being amongst the people? How does it feel for the everyday life? Do you fit in anyway? Which society would you wanna? Which community do you think would be best for you? Now there's a lot of even gated communities coming up, especially in my country. There's a lot of gated communities which are relatively safer. So for those people who are moving back home as individuals or as a couple, and they are leaving children here, I find, this is my opinion, guys, I find being in gated communities would be better because they are relatively safer than being outside, right? So consider things like that. Some people have homes that they've left years ago. Do you want to go and live in some homes are dilapidated, they need to be fixed, and sometimes it's not worth it, or the house is an isolated area where maybe you want to consider the security issues and you name it. So consider all those factors. So chief among the factors to consider is the children, is the finances, the aging process, and health. Let's start with family, children versus family, or children and family. A lot of us have raised our children in these countries. So now they're beginning to start their own families. And if you live alone, now, you are alone, right? For those people that are still having family in their homes, it might not be easy to make a decision that is agreeable, because we are at different stages in life. You find people who are empty nesters are more likely to be thinking about this topic than people who still have. But whether we like it or not, ladies, and gentlemen, let's accept the fact that at one stage or one point in your life, you're going to have to be faced with having to make that decision, right? So when you decide to go home, you consider your children, talk to them. Are they for it or not? Most of them will say no, but I think the final decision is yours. In my language, people say, Zano pangwa uinerako, because once they say ABC, I think you are the person to make the final decision. Do you want to go or do you want to stay? And if you stay, if the reason to stay is for the children, remember at one point they are also going to grow up. They are most likely going to have their own children and families. They move away, and then what? Maybe you end up with your spouse, husband, or your wife. It's okay, but now maybe you have a big house, you feel more, the kids have gone, you want them in your life every day, but that's not possible. They have to work, they have their own families, right? So when you look back at our African culture, you may want to be, okay, maybe it's better to be home, maybe not, right? Because there's still other factors to consider. We also have families here, families that we have adopted in the diaspora. Sometimes we want to go by what they are saying. Some don't want to go, and there's reasons. Some people don't want to go because they've nowhere to live. Some people don't want to go because they don't have very good family ties, or some people don't want to go. They've just said never and never and never, so they won't go. Let this decision be independent. Do not follow a friend, do not follow a neighbor, do not follow a colleague, right? Make it your own decision, because we are all at different stages in life, and our life experiences are different. Some people will have children that will take them in when they get older, and other people don't have children to be able to do so. And others may have children but who are not willing to do so. So all those factors have to be put in. In Africa, especially when I look at my country where I come from, the communities are more social and more communal, and they're easy to fit in, right? As long as you go there, you are humble, you accept people, don't go with an attitude, and it was easy to fit in after so many years. But do not forget that after being away for 10, 20, and 30 years, people in the culture back home, people have changed too. The culture has changed too. So it's about learning to see how they are doing things now versus to how they used to do things years back when you left. Bring in your ideas, accept their ideas. There will always be differences, and learn to live with it. Not every family member is going to like you. It doesn't matter if you've been away for 30 years or for 40 years. Some people are naturally just going to dislike you. Some others are going to like you. You have to accept that. No, but not everybody's going to like you. Neither are you going to like everybody, right? But it's good to establish a community and maybe find yourself a church, maybe reconnect with old friends. There will be friends that, stayed back home, that would be really good and helpful to reconnect with you and to move on from that. Another thing to consider is finances, guys. As much as we want to stay, we really want to stay. These are beautiful countries. They've been very good to us. They've been very helpful. They've changed our lives. But truth be told, we came here, most of us in our 30s, if not early 40s, and our work history is very short. So not all or not everybody has accrued enough pension to be able to sustain a decent retired lifestyle. More so if you have mortgages to pay, if you have bills to pay, the bills, the hydro bills, the internet bills, the mortgages, those are heavy bills, especially after you've retired. Then you find a lot of people might end up having to work past their retirement age, early, way into their 70s. It's still okay as long as you have the energy and the body is capable of doing that. And I know some people who are well in their doing okay in their finances. They would rather still pick up some hours at work, just to keep what the body's been used to doing for years. That's still okay, but let's not be the reason to work beyond retirement be a problem managing your bills, because it's gonna not be okay. Back home, you find there's no mortgages unless if somebody's borrowed somebody money to buy, then that's a different story. People don't have mortgages. The bills are minimal, right? And whilst food is expensive, maybe in the stores, but you can grow your own food, you can have your own chickens, you can pick some food and meat from the village and bring it to the city to help, with grocery stuff and like that. So consider the finances. We know it as first generation immigrants, whatever amount we're going or most likely going to get as retirees might not be sufficient or adequate to support that kind of lifestyle we want. So moving back home might change that lifestyle because things might be easier. You may be left with you have more disposable income if you were living back home. And then the other thing is the natural aging process itself and having to travel back home and forth, because when we say move, some people consider moving as a complete up and go, like one way. They've left and they've forgotten about everything. Some people would rather visit annually, go home for a few months, come back because children are here, and because there's also people who are living here and the children are back home, right? Either way, that's still a decision to be made. Are you going to make in one way this move to go, or you going it's still the same way, it's still covered in this topic, right? So at some point you will find, as much as you fly twice or once a year or however you see fit back home and come back, your body might get tired. It's not easy to take the lengthy flights. It's not easy, even for those people who use wheelchair assist. I find it's very tiresome. It's long flowers, it's long periods of waiting, it's the connections, it's trying to sleep on the plane. You can't really, it's not easy. When you get wherever, when you arrive, your body is beat up, you're tired. And how long can you go like that? Are you able to deal with that, especially when you get to your late 70s and 80s? Factors to consider. Reason why some people have moved to their countries of origin and they've had to come back here, right? And the reason why some people have said never to go back, but they've decided to stay in their countries of origin. So all those things have to be considered. So whatever decision you make, guys, I think there's always pros and cons to whatever decision you come up with. I think the main thing is you have to weigh the push factors versus the pull factors. The push factors is everything that compels you to have to go. And the pull factors is everything that attracts you. So when you look at both, what outweighs the other, right? If you have more pull factors, if you have less push factors, or your push factors outweigh the pull factors, then that's how your decision should be based. Otherwise, there's no single person that can say you have to go, you don't have to go. Everybody's in different situations, but it's a topic to start thinking about. Don't wait until it's too late. Don't wait until you retire. Start to think about it and plan for it and put all these factors into consideration, because an overnight decision can be catastrophic. For today, that is it. Bye. Until next time, guys.